I don't know how to explain this, but I'm just going to put it quickly. I don't really know the dudes. I don't know much, but from what I've seen of them, there's a few from the gym that I sort of know, younger fellas, but they all have like rat's tails. They're all a bit darrow. They're all like a little, not from the best area. They look like bikies and shit like that, you know. So it goes hand in hand with. It goes hand in hand with their weird trajectory and 50-kilo dude as well. Like they're just not a properly planned plan out for the gym and for the people there. I think that's just what my guess.
All right. So what are you really saying though then? Like sum that up. Are you just trying to say that he was fast tracked, you know, getting that spot? I mean, cuz you know, is it just luck he got that spot on the Bud Crawford undercard? Or are you saying that it's a lack of professionalism, not skill set or talent on why we haven't seen him leveling up and he's still fighting six rounders? Is it that's kind of what I'm hearing, right? What's up, guys? How you guys doing today? Let's go. We up, boys. How's everyone doing? It is Monday, August 24th, 10:16 a.m. here in Sydney, Australia. We're going to spend a few moments to talk about this past weekend, and we got a lot to get into because we have fights here in Australia in about 72 hours. So I've been behind the scenes trying to get some insights on an undercard fight on the Tszyu Mahoney card. That's talking to some of my guys who are fighters. And there's one of these fights that the odds are kind of close. So if you're in the Discord, you'll know what I'm talking about. I'll keep you boys posted in the Discord on when he comes back to me on this. And other than that, let's get into this, guys. I'm going to keep the link pinned in the chat. Join our Discord. It's a couple bucks a month. You could either join here on YouTube or on Patreon. I'll be going live twice every day this week because we have a lot to get into. Also, I'll be uploading my breakdown analysis and prediction of Tszyu versus Mahoney. That'll be up today. And check your slips, the VIPs, check Patreon, check YouTube. I posted, you guys asked me to bring it back. It was last year a JSB staple, the weekly money line long parlay. That's back. Plus 1,000 in the house. If you guys are VIPs and you're not in the Discord, message me. You got to get in the Discord. We're approaching 625 VIPs. He's messaging me back right now. And let's get into this. So, off the top of my head, of all the fights we broke down last week from the boxing side of things, we had one underdog, Maeli Flores. Look, I'm not gonna linger on the loss too long. I got her a plus 140. She was a dog. She fought a Dane. She was the A side. She had a knockdown. She had more power. I thought she won. All I'm gonna say is I thought she won. We didn't get the decision. We move on. Everything else hit from a money line perspective. The props sucked this weekend. Look, I've never stood here and said I'm a prop king. I don't position myself trying to be a guy who makes all my money doing prop betting. If you would have, pull up some of my live streams from last year when I first started doing lives, you guys talked me into propping, and I'm not making excuses. It's just volatile. Prop betting, in my opinion, is similar to betting on the UFC. I always talk about it. It's as volatile and as risky as what? A condomless whorehouse. That's the way I look at prop betting. So I put all my heavy wagers on the dog. My biggest bet was Maeli on the money line. I got burned on that. And then the heaviest bet that the boys know, it's still live. It was Teofimo Lopez, Nikita, Callum, and Kira. And that, Teo won. And then we'll see the next three in 2 days in Australia. That's the biggest financial bet I've put all year. So I'm excited about that one. Everything else hit. So depending on how you spread out your bets, this is where the strategy comes into play. I felt like Lenny Buttigieg won 7-3. I'm not going to harp on that too much either. The scorecards this weekend were all over the place. Now, Avius Griffin did exactly what we thought he was going to do. Avius Griffin beat the dog piss. It took him a little while, but he ended up stopping Jackson Marinez. It went exactly how we thought that would go. We knew Jackson was not live. I do want to talk about Carlos Utria. Utria won. We picked him to win. Our slips say that we won. I felt like Utria got a gift. I felt like Izzy Mercado won that fight. I scored it 6-4 for Mercado. everything else hit. So it really comes down to if the parlays on your end, if you're mixing, and this is why I don't mix props with money line picks, because picking the knockout didn't happen, winning on points, they got stopped, this sort of thing. When you look at the tickets that I give you guys, you will see the way I categorize outcomes are always individualized. I'll never go money line and then throw a prop on that ticket. Why? Because I've got burned in the past before with nothing to show for. So we're gonna he still hasn't messaged me back. I'm gonna catch up to the chat and then we'll get it. We'll talk more. I miss you boys. I don't go live on the weekends for my sanity. And so not talking to you guys for 2 days, I feel like I missed you. Power Kennel, Teo has, yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's a boxer. He's a great world-class, highly skilled boxer. I loved that version of him last night. Sup, Johnny, my bias aside, I really thought Buttigieg won that clearly. Any reads or fights you're looking forward to on the Tszyu undercard? Yeah, so what's up, Mike? I'm getting reads on my boy Vegas Larfield. So when Vegas was 18, Vegas fought on the undercard of Terrence Crawford versus Kell Brook in Vegas. And I told my buddy who I'm talking to now, Vegas Larfield's the oldest 24-year-old in boxing. I'm just struggling. When you watch Vegas fight, you see how skilled he is. You see how technical he is. He has power. He has hand speed. But at 24 years old, and he's on the Terrence Crawford card in Vegas when he was 18. Why is he still fighting 6-rounders? Even when you look at his box rec, the one loss that he has, I felt like he won that fight convincingly. So effectively, Larfield, in my eyes, is undefeated. He's fighting a guy from the Philippines they call the Vampire, who's fought nobody. But the odds are really close, so it does have me hesitant. So I'm waiting to hear back. I'm trying to get some tape on the Vampire from the Philippines, and then I'll let you know. As of now, my only plays, because my book isn't giving me props or anything, is that ticket that I told you guys about last week. Morning, John. A big thank you for the great boxing plays this weekend. Your research and confidence came through once again, and the picks delivered. I appreciate you, Christos, man. I appreciate you, bro. It's one of these things that, and likewise, if you guys are in our Discord, you'll know Chris. This dude is becoming week in and week out one of our resident snipers on the MMA side of things, and he knows his boxing as well. Not many people, Christos, earlier last week we're seeing the drill. We're seeing Dorsenville. You know what I'm saying? But I saw that you had Dorsenville on your ticket, and I watched Stanley on the regional scene. I was like, Stanley is live in this fight. I know I didn't give the play away publicly, but due to all of the boxing reads this past weekend, I didn't have much on the UFC. I did a triple, which got starched. I've been getting murdered in the UFC. Jesus. If anybody let me see the tickets. If anybody who's been, the last few weeks in the UFC has been wild. A lot of upsets. Jamal Emmers, I told you guys on the live. God damn it. I just didn't play him. I thought Jamal Emmers was live. I really liked his stand up. He did exactly what I thought he was going to do. Stanley Dorsenville on a week notice. The drill stopped or won a close decision, looked like he was out on his feet, battled back really long for the division. When I saw that he got signed on short notice, I was like, I'm putting money on Stanley. So, Christos, I saw your tickets. You're winning week in and week out. We got to get you on a live stream soon enough. I appreciate the support, big dog. Also, the No Limit card. I'm a big Nikita fan. How do you rate Ben against Nikita? Is Ben a genuine threat, or do you think Tszyu's pressure will be too much? Look, Ben Mahoney's record looks good. He's a well-seasoned pro. He's going to have a high fight IQ. He has good feet. He's going to use the ring. He's going to look to counter. I don't think he has the power to get Nikita's respect, and I think eventually Nikita's going to catch him. Now, Nikita's been leveling up. He's going to, the game plan has to be to cut the ring off. Ben won't. I don't expect Ben to have too many 50-50 exchanges with Nikita. You know what I'm saying? This is why on Nikita's rise up when you watch the Dylan Biggs fight. When you watch all of the, I reference Dylan Biggs because I feel that's Nikita's best win, and I feel that win trumps anything that Ben has done, especially with what we've seen Dylan do in his career. Dylan's a puncher, and Dylan dropped Nikita. This was like early in Nikita's career, and then Nikita ended up getting him out of there. But I don't expect Ben to engage too many times in these 50-50 exchanges. I don't expect many guys domestically and internationally when they feel that power. Nikita has real power, and he's strong. He's more athletic than Tim. I think this is a good spot. I think he will be challenged, though. I think there will be questions. For me, the biggest thing going into it is, will Nikita be able to cut the ring off? Will Ben be able to frustrate Nikita, which we kind of haven't seen, man. It's one of my favorite things about Nikita is that, that persona that you see in the media, that's who he is. He's a guy who speaks about not really caring about fame, social media. He's kind of awkward. He's a different type of dude. And I think with that, it's kind of a breath of fresh air. You see that also in his fights. You see this sort of veracity, this meanness, even when he goes through adversity. He would get dropped or he'd get stunned by guys now if they fought, wouldn't even touch him. Like the Ben Horn fight was, Nikita would, that was Nikita, what, 3 fights in? And even in those moments, even when he was young and learning on the go in front on pay-per-view events, you wouldn't really ever see him frustrated. And so there's magic in that. A young undefeated puncher with a big chip on his shoulder. This is a great spot. Both guys are in the top 15 in the international rankings. I think, and I've said this all along, I think Nikita Tszyu is in a really good position to really break out of Australia with his fight style. He has a fan-friendly fight style. He has the marketability, obviously the last name. And my take on Nikita now is way different than it was 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I would have said if Nikita Tszyu's name was Ben Smith, he wouldn't be fighting on pay-per-view. We wouldn't be, you know what I'm saying? The nepotism in boxing. But now, watching, if Nikita Tszyu's name was Ben Smith, he would still be fight. He would fight. This is how good I think he's getting and how much effort he's put into his craft. So I think he will be tested, though. And I think the prop bettors, it's going to be a sexy prop bet to take the knockout. Ben Mahoney's a vet. Ben didn't like Dan Hill's pressure. And Dan Hill is hardly Nikita Tszyu. Dan Hill has a little pop to him, but he's known for his pressure and his relentless sort of pace. And Ben wasn't exchanging too many times with Dan. And a lot of people, me included, thought that Ben should have shined against Dan. And that was a close fight. So Ben won, but by no means did Ben impress. And we'll see. So I, as of now, I'm not getting props. I'm not playing props. I don't know the odds on the props. Guys, wherever you are in the world, we're 13 minutes in. There's 70 of you in here. Could you just like the video for me? We're just gonna go over this real quick. Just so you guys know, Boss Christo, you're a beast. So this was my take on the Utria fight. This is public. Even though I picked Utria to win, and he did win, I scored it for Mercado 96-94. Another criminal scorecard by Patrice Jarman. Google her. She's single-handedly sabotaging fighters' careers. What an odd weekend of fights. 100%. This came after the Lenny Buttigieg draw, and that happened in the UK. That draw was not a draw, Lenny Buttigieg. We would have hit on everything. On the money line, once again, the only fights we've lost on the money line are the lady fights. So I did make a statement publicly to, I do have Michaela Mayer going into this weekend, but, she's on that handful of fighters from the lady side that I'll wager on. Gabby, there's a few. This scorecard was absolutely atrocious. You got to feel for Mercado, but it does come down to, guys, the politics of boxing. We knew about Utria winning the WBC. We knew about him getting the new deal with PBC. We knew about the A side. We knew about the politics. We knew about Mercado falling short as the B side time and time again. We're not betting on fighters. We're betting on outcomes. You know what I'm saying? I don't care who's uncle, nephew, cousin. Like, if you're the B side and you're in your 30s now and you're notoriously falling short on judges' scorecards and fights that were close, that should always go into consideration when you're thinking about betting with your wallet. You know what I'm saying? So I have no problem going publicly, even though I want to bet, saying this. This is why I feel this is a microcosm of our community, the healthiness of our community, the mindset of our group together is like, I'm not the type of guy to go online and then to say, I told you about Carlos Utria. I told you. No, he did not. He's not. Obviously, you guys who had the read, shout out to More Boxing. Shout out to Keith Moore. If you're not following Keith, we did a live last week. We're gonna be doing many more collabs. That was the fight we kind of disagreed on. And it's one of these moments where even though my bank account will suggest that I won the argument, his read was actually spot on. But we're debating and we're betting with our wallet, right? He was right. You know, the WBC Grand Prix, the opposition wasn't as high. And there's some guys in our Discord that had the same take, and they bet on Mercado. But it's kind of a perfect example of sometimes you can have sometimes you can have a good read and it's spot on and still lose the bet. So it's another teaching moment for our group, is that as we grow and we get new members and new VIPs, I see it happen more and more. You'll get guys who show up in our live chat in our Discord, and the ones who will bash somebody because they lost the bet, I always know that they're the new guys. And then I kind of have to be like, hey, bro, that's not what we do here. Like, you can disagree. You won, I lost. You don't have to fucking berate me for it, hypothetically. You don't have to attack. And I could always tell when the newbies, if guys are new, by the way they act after fights. So it's a good learning moment, man. Mercado definitely deserved to win that fight. He showed his professionalism. He showed his veteran savviness. And he was, controlling the last 2 rounds. But as a better, in hindsight's always 2020, everything I knew about Mercado, and if Mercado had a little bit more power, he probably would have got the stoppage. And so as a better, though, I just wasn't willing to take Mercado, and I know the odds were freaking crazy, plus 800. So it was a good read, but sometimes good reads don't always come through. This was one of my favorite reads personally of the weekend, to be honest with you. This is one that week in and week out, we're always, come fight night, come fight weekend, the chat gets a little bit scary. And I'm not trying to offend people. I know a couple of people got offended when I said that during the weekend, but that's kind of me complimenting. You should second guess things, but as the guy who runs the channel, by fight weekend, from my perspective, my boots are already dug in, so I'm not second guessing anything. By the time I place my bet and share it to the boys, I'm already dug in. You're not going to be able to talk me out of my bet. It's just not going to happen. And it's based on research. So with Antonio, I said this all week. I was like, this is going to be a masterclass. Antonio is, he has the pedigree, he has the skill set, he has the hand speed. He's going to fight in the pocket, and it's exactly what happened. And I saw some of the boys in our group who posted their tickets who actually sniped Antonio early and got him as a dog. So if you're one of those out there right now who has the Gary Antonio Russell ticket, the winning ticket, and you had him at plus money, that, my friend, is called being sharp, and I salute you. Because by fight night, Gary was down to, I think, 56%. And I put my bet in on Tuesday, and I got him at 70%. And I thought 70 was a steal. And 52% was obviously a steal as well. I like they did. Shout out to PBC. They did a memorial. So Tszyu versus Raleigh, obviously that was the biggest fight of the weekend. And it's a quote that I repeated last week. Teofimo Lopez is at his best when he's at his lowest. And add it to the stats that we track, add it to the notebook, Julius, J Knows Boxing, add it to the chart. Whenever a fighter comes off, as of late, a loss and is active against Shakur, they tend to look good. Josh Padley, William Zepeda, Teofimo Lopez. And it's kind of like everyone's like, oh, that fight was not close, by the way. I thought it was a masterclass by Tszyu. He got wobbled 2 times, the end of, I think, round 7, and then when he got cut early on in the fight. But other than that, he controlled range and distance. Raleigh's an awkward guy. I don't think Raleigh, other than losing his belt and losing his title, I don't think his stock drops. I think Raleigh's still a tough night out for a lot of guys at 47. I think that if you're not on your P's and Q's for the entire 12 rounds against Raleigh, that fool was opportunistic. That motherfucker, like that's why you gotta love Raleigh. You know what also was great was hearing the entire T-Mobile Arena at the beginning chanting Raleigh's name, and then at the end they were chanting Teo's name. This it was amazing. And you know, senior is always going to take shit for obvious reasons, but I like one of the bit of a pieces of advice Senior told Teo. Senior's not a technician. He's not there to design a masterful game plan. You know, he's the guy in front. And I think a lot of people get confused into thinking that it's his father who's creating plans of attack. I loved Teo's game plan last night. I love how switched on he was, and I love what his father said after he got cut. Because after he got cut, he goes to the corner, and his dad says this is exactly what he needed. And people were making fun of him for saying, I fucking agreed. I was like 100%. That was the best piece of advice I've ever heard him say. You know why? Because before he got cut in Wobble, he was cruising, and against a guy like Raleigh, the minute you lose focus, like something like that could happen, or you get knocked out. And from that moment on, Tay had been through drama before in a fight. He had been knocked down before. He knows how to come back. He's lost before. So his dad knew that that wasn't going to deter him. If anything, seeing the blood, that was going to level him up, and it did exactly that. And I felt like that was a rare moment where Senior gave actually good advice. And whenever I see moments of good advice, I got to shout it out. I 100% agree with that. I would have told my fighter the same thing. Why you can't with Teo, you can't be negative with him. You got to be positive. It's all about mental framework. So in that moment, if the father, what did you do? No, he's like, bro, hell yeah. Now we're in a fight. Let's go. You needed it. Like that was perfect advice. Shout out to Senior. All right, this is the big one in terms of doubling my money. We put this in 3 days ago. This is my, all I need now is Kira, Callum, and Nikita. And then this is my biggest bet of the year. Fingers crossed. This is our quarterly parlay. Our quarterly parlay at plus 2,600 lives on. This is the one that we put together the August, September, October, 19 legs. We win and move on. We're like playing in the tournament. You know what I'm saying? We're like Valparaiso in 2004 with Bryce Drew. I'm aging myself. What you know about those Valpo teams where Bryce Drew hitting those buzzer beaters? Was it 2004? I forget when it was. But check the name out. This is what this reminds me of. Win and move on, baby. And then this is our quarterly parlay from July, August. We just need one more. This is a plus 600. We need Moses to win this week. We've hit every quarterly parlay since March, by the way. So if you're paying attention, if you're playing along, if you're in our group, you would be getting these plays. So when I see people saying we're down, how could we ever be down, baby? We're playing chess out here. We're setting bricks up, not just in front of us, not for week to. We got things happening in front of us. Things that are paying off for us from months ago that you forgot about. If you're playing along with these long parlays or the quarterly parlays, these things that you put money down months ago are going to be then into your bank account after Saturday when Moses wins. Then we do this throughout the year. This is us playing chess out here. This was the money line double. And once again, guys, for the insiders, if you guys ever have any hesitation on how sure I am about a bet, look at the receipts because I post mine actually. I post mine. we have all my receipts. There's no, it ain't. There's obviously no. If I ever tried to say that I did something that I didn't, I totally expect the team to call me out for it. I'm not that type of dude. So if ever you're questionable on how serious I am about a ticket, look at the date. I put this bet in last Sunday. When I saw these odds, I was like, So this is why it's crazy that some of the boys in our group found Gary at plus money. That's why I'm like, I want to see that ticket. So I put this in last week because the fight was on the 23rd. I placed mine on the 16th. And, it's those, I take pride in those early reads. And we should all be making money. We should all be making money. This one burned me. I'm not happy about this one. I talk about my losses too. I post my losses. You guys see everything. I think from an entrepreneurial perspective, if you're running businesses, if you have a passion project, if you're hiring people, whatever you're doing, transparency is key. Especially in regards to growing a community. In terms of growth with a community, with getting it, you have to be transparent. And so that's Malcolm Gladwell. If you ever read the book Outliers, Gladwell has a chapter about business owners and transparency. It was either in Outliers or Tipping Point. This one. This is gonna be tough to get. This one for me is gonna be tough to get past because wherever you are in the world, some of your books, the draw is voided and you win the ticket. Not my punk ass book. Lenny Buttigieg won this. This is why I don't harp on my wins. I don't harp on my losses. This will be the last time I talk about Lenny Buttigieg. He won 7-3, maybe 6-4, maybe 6-4. But for them to call it a draw and then this ticket to get burned, look at the date on this one. Put that in last Sunday. So guys, sometimes it's out of our control. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's out of our control. I think we're caught up. Shout out to. This is one of my. We got VIPs, and then we got other. This is a next tier of VIP. So if you get my personal phone number. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, big dog. We up. If you're on the Instagram, follow me. I'll follow you back. That's the read before the fight went down. 42% on the money line. We got 91% on points. It went exactly how we expected. And I think we're all caught up. Shout out to Nikita. And now I could get caught up with the chat. All right. Paul Jordan's down. You got to climb back up, baby. All right, I'm gonna I just fast forward it. Johnny, I can't play them long parlays because MGM adds the fights like 3 days sometimes. Yeah, so Mayo, the only reason I brought the long parlay back was because the chat was asking for it. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like they asked for it. But at least you know, Mayo, when you do get those options to play, those are my reads. Damn, the chat's popping off. Where's Lawrence at? Somebody said Raleigh was acting like a chicken wing. What's up? It's ice season. Corey Lee. Let's go. I might start rocking ice again. Bring back my 21-year-old self. At 44, it's a bad look. Me at 44, I can't be rocking diamonds in the ears. I can't be putting my eyebrow piercing in. I might be entering pop status. It goes like I was told by a young buck that Unk is like y'all cats are calling like 30-year-olds Unks. So I'm like, damn, I might already be past Unk status. I might be at pop status. So I can't be wearing. Somebody said, Mr. Get what money? Mr. Get your money up, baby. Acting like a chicken wing. Where Lawrence at? What's the word, Johnny boy? Who do you think on upset alert this weekend? I think Sam wins. I think Ursu wins. I think Najee wins. I think, if anything, I want to look more into Ramon. He is on one of my parlays. I like all these spots, man. If you're unfamiliar with Konstantin Ursu, he's a Moldovan who, lives in Great Britain. He's a fun fighter, man. He, athletic, aggressive. He's in a good spot. He's in a good spot. He's going to shine. There's still kind of like sometimes manufacture comes off as a negative. They're still building him. Sam Noakes, he's fighting a guy in Baranchik on paper. People are going to say Sam is on upset alert. Baranchik's a guy who's retired, unretired, come back. He's older now. Sam Noakes is aggressive. I think Sam is going to take away lessons he learned from the Abdullah Mason fight, and he was in that fight. I never thought there was even a moment where Sam looked out of depth. If anything, because I'm an Abdullah Mason better, and I'm an Abdullah Mason fan. If anything, Sam tested Mason, man, and I guarantee for the rest of their careers they'll both talk about that fight. I fully expect Sam to come into this fight against Baranchik and look great again. Najee Lopez, look, this is a guy who will exchange with you in 50-50 fights. And that should always be a worry. He keeps his chin a little bit high, but he is action-packed, fan-friendly TV. He will fight for your money. So that being said, until I see otherwise, I'm on the Najee Lopez bandwagon. And Ramon Cardenas, this is a kid who could punch. This is a kid who's quick. Sometimes when you see with these fighters who go in as big underdogs and have a good moment and then they lose, they sort of get complacent. Edgar Berlanga, his loss with Canelo, he goes on a parade tour and then he ends up getting knocked out against Hamza. But, with Cardenas, he was competitive early with Inoue. He knocked down Inoue and then he gets stopped. He could have easily, that could have been his career defining moment. But no, I like what I've seen since. He's aggressive. He's in his prime. I like Cardenas. I do have him on a ticket. I think he's in a competitive fight. Veron versus Hernandez, distance, boom. Julius hitting the props. The props are a volatile market, a condomless whorehouse, as I call it. Amanda, Buttigieg. Amanda, yeah, the prop game, boy. So you were playing Buttigieg money line, and then you were playing Amanda knockout. Yeah, bro. Look, all I can tell you strategically is you don't have to listen, but because I've been burned like this before in terms of I don't mix props together. If I like a prop or two props and the one prop is paying plus money, just take the one prop. You know what I'm saying? Nothing is, and then this is why I don't sprinkle the same sort of questionable outcomes on multiple tickets, because if that questionable outcome doesn't go your way, you lose multiple tickets. So an element of winning consistently and betting on boxing has a lot to do with knowing the fights and fighters, but there is an element of strategy in terms of mitigating opportunities of loss. Managing your bankroll, knowing when to pull the trigger, where you go heavy, where you don't go heavy. I never, like, my heaviest bet will never be on a prop. Quarter unit stuff, and then if you're paying attention to the live streams, ask me. I told you guys the last few weeks, nothing too heavy. And this is why kind of I put my neck out there. I put, as Tommy would say, put my balls on the table. I told you guys, this is the biggest bet I'm making all year. And if Tail would have lost, I would have already been down. But he won, and now I need Nikita, Callum, and Kira to come through. And then I would have hit my biggest bet. And I told you guys that. If you're in the Discord, a lot of the boys will ask me or message me, hey, Johnny, how heavy are you going? I don't like broadcasting the finances to the public because I always talk about the last thing I ever want to do is make anybody feel, money is funny. People get weird about money. And I'm a coach and teacher first. The betting came secondary. Boxing was my first love. So that's kind of how I operate. You never hear me talking about getting rich or, things are being locks, because there's no such thing. My whole goal is to educate first. And so with that in mind, the last thing I want to do is make people feel inferior as well, about betting or pressuring them. Let's say there's a young buck who is learning the sport and they love boxing, and then they're seeing a guy that they watch on YouTube bragging about wealth and bragging about cars and creating this message of like what they have versus what you don't have. That could be psychologically damning to the young buck. So I keep that in mind. And that's kind of how I operate as a man. We up Hollywood Slim. You gotta be, baby. Look, the draw hurts me. I hate losses. I could bitch about this for the next hour about how I stand on the mountain that Auntie Tortina won. Auntie Tortina, she got the knockdown. She threw more power shots. Look at their faces after the fight. I did hear Tortina she got clipped in the jaw a bit, but I thought she won by at least 2 rounds. And so, of course, I'm pissed off our dog didn't hit. I'm actually I'm bummed out for her and her family too, though. You know what I'm saying? She's 34 now. If the promotion isn't, why sign her MVP if the promotion isn't gonna lean with their A side there in a close fight, in which I didn't even think it was that close. You can't expect her to get many more shots, and I thought she deserved to win. It kind of bums me out she didn't get it. Russell and Teo, hero of the week. We needed it. We needed it, dude. And it was a weird weekend, and it could have been a perfect weekend in the ring. If Tortina gets the job done, if we get the decision there, and if Lenny Buttigieg would have gotten the call, which he did, on the money line, we would have had another perfect weekend. We haven't had a male money line loss in weeks. And that's why I'm making an adjustment on the ladies. Auntie Tortina ladies lost money line. Dina Thorslund beat Sugar Cheeks money line. And then don't even get me started about the props. The Amanda knockout prop. Jesus Christ. That was hard to watch. Amanda, that was hard to watch. Her getting hit so many times. Tszyu just got on my book. Prop betting can be tough. It is, man. Prop betting, guys, prop betting is like when you're prop betting, your whole mindset should be, all right, if this hits, it's the sugar on top. You should not be prop betting and chasing. And you know what I'm going to say about you should not be chasing in general. That's a fool's game to play, but you should definitely not be prop betting to chase, and you should definitely never be going all in on prop betting either. Prop betting is so volatile. I was the first to say Taylor on points. I won $4,000, and I won the McKenna bet because of you, bro. Jerry Leva, we're a team, bro. Good hit too, big dog. I love hit. Good hit. Good hit. Yeah, I didn't expect it to be controversial, but I made a statement in our Discord about Yoenli Hernandez. It wasn't a popular opinion, but my whole goal isn't like I talked about this before. Being popular was never I never cared about that in life. You know what I'm saying? And it's advice to some of you younger guys is like you shouldn't you shouldn't worry about trying to please people. As long as you're living your life on a righteous path, you should, pleasing people is a fool's game. So with that being said, I gave a take after the Yo-Yo fight with Veron. And I said that I think Yo-Yo's missing gears. I was never sold on Yo-Yo, by the way. I did, had him to beat Veron. That fight was ultra competitive. I think he won. Obviously, it wasn't even people saying it was a robbery are absolutely insane. They're obviously reacting with their wallet or their heart. But when I watch him fight, even the fight before the Gachet fight, and then how he looked against Gachet, I think he's missing gears. He has a lot of bad habits. When he can't bully somebody, and then he has to rely on sort of like in his power, is it that good? Because to me, it looks like he slaps a lot of his punches. To me, his feet are always out of place when he's punching. And why does this matter? Think about the difference when he punches versus when Raleigh punches. Raleigh's feet are always in perfect position. He's awkward with his torso, because he's always kind of Raleigh I'm talking about. He's always waiting for that lead hook. But his feet are always solid. That's that judo foundation I talked about all week. That's how he's able to drive, and he has long arms and that torque on that hook. Yoenli is crossing his feet. He gets away with a lot of things. He slaps a lot with his punches. I think Aaron McKenna beats Yo-Yo. If they fought, this is, he struggled with Veron. Yo-Yo's listed at 6'2". Aaron McKenna's listed at 6'3". I don't think Yo-Yo could fight at 3 different ranges. I think he relies on his athleticism and his explosivity too much. I think McKenna at 6'3" will be taller than Yo-Yo. He could fight from the distance. I think once he mitigates or manages that range, he'll fight Yo-Yo in the pocket. He's a more technical puncher. His punch placement is better. And I would love to see those odds. And I know, and that's a hill. That's a 100% hill I will debate anybody on if that fight goes down. Mark this, clip this. 100%, I would take Aaron McKenna to beat Yoel Lee Hernandez. I think he has more gears. I think he's more skilled. I just think he's the better boxer, and he's tough, durable, and he's a champion. So I hope that's the fight I want to see. Let's see if he's the real deal. I'm still not convinced. Yo-Yo is in the category for me. You're gonna have to prove it to me still. What's up, Johnny? What's up, boys? Let's keep that positive vibes, energy. Great way to finish the weekend, Antonio. Leonda. Yeah, we are. Let's go. Hey, man. We're gonna go through growing pains as a group. I did. I made some controversial decisions this weekend, but I apologize in our chat. I sent some messages, some DMs. I apologize to some insiders. I sometimes can get too comfortable with people. Because if I'm talking chat and shit in our group, I'm not doing it to offend. And when you're just reading context, or if I'll do a voice note, I'm just clowning. And I think a lot of that has to do with how I was raised, my generation, whatever you want to call it. I grew up in locker rooms playing, team sports, talking shit to each other was part of our love language or whatever, they would call that. Like if we weren't shit talking, clowning you, I wasn't kicking it with you. So I had to send some DMs, to some of the boys in the Discord, and everything's good. And then, we had some newbies in there trying to, start dumpster fires, but we got through it. Being able to mitigate the dumpster fires is part of leadership. Mercado versus Tria to go the distance. Mosby, great read. I was way off on that fight. Jesus Christ. Yeah, I feel bad for the Mercado guys. I feel bad you guys didn't get that dub. That would have been for the Mercado guys, more boxing. At that price, that would have trumped our Sam Gilly at plus 600. That would have trumped our because I getting J Rod at plus 550 against Sugar, getting Gilly at plus 600 against Aston Brown, getting Josh at plus 380 against Murtazayev, and I think we got Figueroa at plus 380 against Nick Ball. But if Mercado would have got that, that would have trumped all of those, in my opinion, because that wouldn't have just been a ticket that you would have shown. You guys had that read, and that sometimes a read isn't good enough. It sucks. It sucks. Patrice Jarman should be paraded around publicly, and we give her or you guys give her your losing bets and say, look what you cost me. Look what you cost me. Look what you cost me. Shame. Shame. I need Moses. So do I. Tuama. I don't mind that. You're going to get a lot of heat in the, people are going to say, no way, because there's something that is a thing, which is fine. And as bettors and, personally, I sometimes can be a victim of this, is we sometimes do give too much credence to the vet. And sometimes we're a little bit too hard on the young buck. And I see a lot of people painting pictures for Herg. I think Hergovich is going to get blown out. I do. I think Moses, he made me a believer. I think Moses is going to blow Hergovich out. You don't always have to see a guy. There's exceptions in boxing where this is the outlier case. Usually, I would say the opposite. Usually, I'd have to say I got to see levels. I got to see how he deals with a swarmer. I got to see how he deals with a southpaw. I got to see how he deals with a counter boxer. I got to see how he deals with a guy with a good jab. I got to see how he deals with a guy who could use the whole ring. I got to see how he deals with a veteran who's never been stopped. You know what I'm saying? But there's certain guys who come around every now and then where you just throw that out and you're like, I've seen enough. This kid, this dude's legit. And that's how I rate Moses. I think he is legit. I think he's just going to storm through Hergovich. Okay, well, that's loading. Terry, Mercado got robbed bad. Thankfully, I had the over. Yeah. Yeah, the over is a good call. He got raw bad. It's unfortunate, bro. You grew up in the game. You know what I'm saying? Like, think about Terry. I think a guy that I probably use this example a bit too much, but I think he's a great example for the young bucks who might not be aware of the relevance of being the guy traveling, being the B side, being the opposite of the promotional newbie or the opposite of the promotional darling. You look at a guy. Emmanuel Augustus's record. You see a guy and you watch how competitive he was with guys like Mickey Ward and guys like Floyd Mayweather, and you look at his record and you're like, the totalness of the win loss doesn't tell the whole story of how good he was. And a lot of those losses that were split decision losses, majority decision losses, if he would have been the A side on the hometown kid, his record would have looked a lot different. And as bettors, we know these things happen. And it should never be the only reason you make your bet, but it should definitely be a thought when we're making our bet. Is the going into it, I'm saying, is like, all right, who's the ace? The politics of the whole thing. There's a lot of different thoughts that go into this when we're laying either a dollar or $10,000 down. What's up, Rel? Hell, Rel, what's up? Out of all the fights you going with this weekend, which fights you may feel uncertainty with? I'm always uncertain, man. I'm actually stressing about Nikita. Ask me this after Wednesday night, and then we could focus on the fights from Friday onwards. But Nikita will be tested. Like, Ben is a lifelong combat sports athlete. Ben grew up boxing and then, had a Muay Thai career. And, he's an undefeated pro. He has some good wit. Like, I'm not, maybe it's because I put a lot of money on Nikita, but Ben will present some issues for Nikita. I'm interested to see what the odds on the props will be. And then moving forward, there are some good fights this weekend with some good odds. I'll pull those up in a second. What's your read on Mayer versus Chantel? I got Mayer. I've been talking about, shout out to Skills. Skills used to be in our Discord. He's a JSB insider. Him and I are linked on Instagram. He's my age, former fighter. He has he actually had a pro career, and he, lives like a fighter, lives like he's in fight camp. I think our generation, I think Terry might be younger than me, but I think the guys in our like 40s, because we've experienced life without the internet, than the internet, without social media, with social media, we have a lot more information in front of us that our fathers had. And a lot of guys my age are fathers. Like, my dad died young due to like lifestyle related issues, health related issues, not taking care of himself. And so I feel like I don't meet a lot of guys who live like I do in life, but online in our group I have, live like we're in a fight camp every day. That's kind of like, and it's probably because of the errors that we saw from our fathers. And so, yeah, I could go on a long, long rant about that, but I won't. I'll save you guys the ear headache. Yes, sir. I hope you guys think he'll make it easy. And how do you think he'll get Hrgovic out? Hrgovic is a punching bag. He not a lot of head movement. He's going to be slick for a little bit. I think this is a very proud guy, Hrgovic. This is a guy who I like actually what he's saying in the media in terms of how confident he is. A heavyweight vet guy who's confident, who's been publicly open about how he feels he hasn't made the money he's supposed to have made. He's going in there to prove a point. He's going in there to stop Moses. He's going in there to teach the young fighter a lesson. What does that mean? That means I feel he's going to exchange with him. I think we're going to see 50-50 exchanges. And I think Moses just might be one of those guys that opponents will say after the fight, wow, I was impressed with his speed. Wow, I didn't know he punched like that. Wow. I didn't see that punch coming. I think Veron was half-ass robbed too. Hernandez got a draw at best, if I remember correctly. Man, Yo-Yo he doesn't move it for me, man. Maybe he doesn't move the needle for me. There's a lot of shininess to his style. I get it. There's a lot of glow to the marketing of him as a fighter, what he looks like, very, very memorable optics in the ring, obviously. But if you remove all of that and you're looking at it from a tactical perspective, you're focusing on the minutia of the craft, you know, Terry might not be that wrong. Like Verone was the one who had him. He wobbled Yo-Yo. He wobbled Yarn. Like Verone was brave, and it kind of the odds were absolutely horrendous going into the fight. And we've won a lot of money with we've watched. If you guys watch boxing, watch pro box. We all have. We know. It's not like we didn't know Verone. If anything, I was like, damn man. For his handlers, I kind of drank the Kool-Aid about thinking, damn, why would he take this fight? A knockout loss will really send him back in his career. But dude, he lost nothing. If anything, he gained more fans. People can't wait to see him fight again. I think Yo-Yo's on the fade list. Yo-Yo's on my fade list. I wanted to see Yo-Yo in the 8th round against Cachet. I wanted to see how Yo-Yo would react in the 7th and 8th round. A lot. Say what you will, we didn't get to see that. Verone drew him out, but Verone's not a veteran. Verone was, how much machismo did Verone fight with? That's what you gotta love. Barking at him, talking shit, pushing him. Like, you gotta love that. And so, I wouldn't call it I'd have to rewatch it. I didn't leave that fight feeling the same way I left Utria and Izzy. Utria and Izzy was like even worse. What was worse? What was worse scoring? Lenny versus PA or Utria versus Izzy? Because I thought Lenny won 7-3. I'm talking about Emmanuel. They call him Lenny Buttigieg. He's only 21 too. This is a kid. Like, there's things to like about his style. He has to work on his gas tank at 21. Where's Julius? He probably has, a full-time job. Julius hates the guys have jobs. Yeah, I knew, man. Cody, I told you about Emmers, man. I told you about him, man. Tall, long, striker, confident. I always like a guy who comes up to the UFC, gets cut, and then comes back. Emmers, this isn't the first time Emmers has done this. If you're paying attention, we just flipped to the UFC, by the way, boys. This isn't the first time Jamal's done this. Jamal kind of is one of these guys who thrives on being the dog, but you know what he's never been able to do? He's never been able to string wins together. Because he's done this before, and then the next spot he'll lose. So, and this is where, like, from a bettor's perspective, you got to know when to fade. What did Kenny Rogers say? You got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them. Early pick Ammo or Vito. I like Ammo there. Cody. RoboCop beating Hernandez. Surprise. I didn't get to watch it. I was watching Teo. I had a lot this past weekend. Really, I didn't leave this past weekend happy from a betting side. I didn't feel good about like the auntie decision. The auntie decision would have changed everything. It would have set the tone for our weekend, but her not getting that decision really set the tone for the weekend in a weird way. And then I woke up at 5 a.m. to watch the Buttigieg outcome. But then George Litter did what we knew he was going to do. There were so many, like, we were spot on again with, like, this will happen, that sort of thing. Sometimes we know this. The judges are literally out of our control. So it's like, there's no way to avoid it from a betting perspective. You don't just say, how do you predict not betting a fight when the plus 800 is actually live and actually wins, but doesn't get the decision? Like, what is the lesson there from because I didn't play Mercado. I won my ticket, but I'm trying to find, it's always important, I think, in life to find silver linings, especially with betting, making a judge. What is because you guys, I've got shit for this next statement. I don't think any bet that loses is a good bet. That's a hill I'll die on. I'll never say that that's a good bet and it lost. Like, it fucking lost. The only good bet are the ones that won. Maybe that's my. I don't even know what that. Maybe I'm stupid. How the hell I can't ever sit here and say a bet that lost was a good bet. I want to go perfect. I want to go 100% every week. And I like the risk that we play too, because I'm a bit of a risk taker. So that's why we always do plus money tickets. I want to go 100% every week. It's not in me to play a plus 800 thinking that he's not going to win. If I'm playing a plus 800, I'm thinking he's going to win. So when he doesn't win, I would then say, that bet sucked. Fuck, I shouldn't have did that. Like, he fucking lost. Even if he should have won. Like, it's hard to explain. I know that there's like, I know some guys will say, hey, this is a throwaway bet or this. No, bro. I can't do that. I can't have throwaway bets because everything is tracked. So I just can't throw a fucking bet away and just take a plus 900 after I've done tape and we talk about the politics. I can't stand on that for the sake of results. You know what I'm saying? So any bet that ever loses is a bad bet. I'm sorry. That's just what I think. But, I've never once said I know more than you. I've never once said, hey, I'm an expert. I know more than you. I'm better than you. Like, fuck off, dude. Like, people who speak like that are pretty much low IQ children. What do you think of Lester Martinez? I don't rate him. Look, I'm a better though, guys. I grew up in boxing. Our group is filled with guys who fight, former pros, coaches, guys who've never fought, people who are teach. We're a bunch of just dudes internationally who speak the language of the world's best sport, right? So as a bettor, once I see something in an outcome and a narrative has been delivered to prove the narrative wrong, I was sold Lester Martinez as a power punching knockout artist. That's what I was sold as. What's his best moment? A fight that he didn't win? I'm not talking about Aleem. I don't think the Aleem fight was his best moment. I think his best moment was a fight that he didn't win against Billy. It's kind of what people remember him for. It was only 2 fights ago. I think he has a good tank. I think he's durable. I think he's a tough night at the office, but I don't think he's the puncher that people told us he was. He's a very tough night at the office. He's a tough night. We picked him to beat Aleem. He beat Aleem. And then Aleem, the next fight, gets stopped against Diego. Shout out to Lester for softening him up. We played that. So we're playing a long game. You know what I mean? You gotta. We watch this week in and week out, and that's why sometimes when we hit props, we look like geniuses, and when we don't hit props, I'll be the first to admit it. It fucking sucks. Jesus Christ, props are insane, guys. Don't put props on money line tickets, man. Especially if you're betting like $1,000. The idea that I'm going to put like a money line bet on a knockout prop and lay a G on it, man, I just can't. I don't want you to, even if you got a mil, don't put 1,000 on a prop, man. Don't do it. I know when it hits, you're a genius and you know more than me, which is fine. But dude, from a long-term perspective, that's like playing that claw game at the arcade. You might as well just go play the claw game. What makes you think? Yeah, so I broke this down. I'll share my take on this tomorrow. I've been talking to Skills. Oh, you brought me back. Skills. I was talking about Skills. Pro boxer, lives like a samurai. Went on the rant about my dad. Went on the rant about how I'm always living in fight camp. That's why, because him and I have been talking about Cameron versus Mayer for like a month, back and forth. Like you guys have the same. You guys have these little side quests, side conversations with certain people. You may have or may not know them in real life, which in this case, the guys I talk to the most, I never met in real life. Shout out to the internet. You know what I'm saying? But oh, he messaged me back. Do you want? So I'll break that down more this week. So this is back to how I started this live stream an hour ago with the voice memo. This is the response from the fighter about Vegas Larfield.
Yeah, I guess my message was just to explain is what they appear to be unprofessional. They could be the most professional dudes ever, but they come across as very unprofessional. They have a lot of skills, so it's not a lack of skill set; it's a lack of professionalism from their team, and they didn't take advantage from that opportunity that they've got that probably someone put out. Or I'm not sure. Look, I don't know. It was years ago. I wasn't even really boxing properly then, so I can't speak for them or on the situation. But it appears that they got lucky or someone put out, or they got an opportunity to fight on that other card and didn't capitalize on it fully, leading to them just sort of stagnating his career rather than taking advantage of that and using that to continue his trajectory upwards. Because he's not even he's barely on the no limit card there. He's fighting on some random cards.
Yeah, so that's Vegas. So that's one of my guys. I keep my guys anonymous. I don't need to flex like that. That's being transparent and being anonymous at the same time. Vegas Larfield, when he was 18 years old, fought on the undercard in Las Vegas, Nevada, as a teenager on the undercard of Terrence Crawford versus Kell Brook. That is so rare as an Aussie. That is an amazing feat. A teenage Australian boxer gets a featured prelim spot on a Terrence Crawford undercard in Vegas on a pay-per-view. And he's now 24 years old, and he's on the Nikita Tszyu undercard. He's still fighting 6-rounders. I'm like, the odds are pretty even. He's fighting a Filipino kid named the Vampire who's literally fought nobody. Vegas has the better resume, and there's good value on Vegas on the money line. But I think the question for me is, why has his career not been progressing? He's still fighting 6-rounders at 24, and he weighs 50 kg. So that's kind of a division where, like, you know, he's kind of in his prime or getting there. I thought he won. I don't understand how that line didn't grow. I see him as high as minus 215. Daniel Pueyos plus money versus Dalton. Is that a sharp steal? Man, that's a good fight. That's a good fight, man. My triangle betting connection with Puello is absolutely horrible. There's certain guys that we ride. Pause. I can't believe you guys got me saying freaking pause, dude. I feel my dad's rolling over in his grave. Pause. Everything's your whole Young Bucks. Everything is a joke, right? About homosexuality. Pause. My triangle connection with Puello is so terrible. I picked GAR to beat Puello. Puello won. I picked Puello to beat Matias. Matias won. So that's two. Like, for me, it should be a no. For me, I should be like, you know what? Personally, statistically, historically speaking, I'm not going to bet on Puello. And then for Dalton, the last two fights of Dalton, I'm 0-2. I picked him to stop Matthew Germain in the UK. I picked Dalton. Dalton was a 58% of the money line. I won that one, but I picked him to stop Matthew Germain. He didn't. It went the distance. Lost that bet. And then I picked Matias to beat him. Lost that bet. So for me, I like Dalton in this spot, but maybe I'm not the guy you should be listening to, statistically speaking. You know what I'm saying? Like, from a rhythm perspective, I guess, or what would you call it? Yeah, like I don't have these two fighters have been killing my bank account the last year. Are you nearly back Jamal Emmers? Fear the old man in a young man's game. I told you guys to back Jamal. I brought it up to you guys. Wagwan. What's that mean? Naga. What does that mean? What's up, Al? I don't know what that means. Started doing quarterly parlays. I see. There you go, Barry. And shout out to I gotta be honest with you. I only started doing the quarterly parlays because of the chat, because of our chat. So we started in March and everyone's hit. Knock on wood so far. Taco Padilla, UFC in the house. Dude, getting that stoppage late was insane. Fighting for his family. Callum knockout at 61 on 365. How good is Blake Wells? If I could, what's up, Sam? If I could get the Peters prop, I'm going to play it. There's a lot of tape on Blake. Domestic guy. Callum should like you got to understand too. Callum has been really active. Callum, this will be Callum's third fight in a short amount of time. We saw him get paired, and he's been paired up nicely. They brought Joshawn James down here to fight Callum. Joshawn is best known for that double knockdown fight he had 2 fights ago. The fight before the 50 cal fight, and then also Joshawn fought Lester Martinez. And then Callum won a decision. And then he was just on the Tszyu Spence undercard and looked good. Callum is a joy to watch, man. He throws a lot of volume. He's always in the pocket. He wants to be in the wheelhouse. He weaponizes his cardio. The minute he starts seeing you break, he's going to pour it on you. So I'm going to play the stoppage. He's a fun prop stoppage to play. He won us a lot of money in his last fight, stopping the Argentinian kid. Just as I'm on a bit of a losing streak with Dalton Smith and Puello, the opposite, I think I've hit 22 bets in a row in Australia. So all those receipts are live. This will be our third Aussie card in 4 weeks. We've hit everything. So I'm playing the Callum stoppage. I'm playing Kira Rustin by stoppage. And I'll just do a triple prop if I get the chance. The one I'm torn on is will Nikita. I rate Ben. Ben he comes from a good camp. He's disciplined. He's a lifelong combat sports athlete. He's a vet. I think in one of the first early exchanges, Ben is going to feel that power of Nikita, and then he's going to get on his bike. So I think the points will be stressful, but I think the points logically would be the play for Nikita on points. Logically. But we know we're Cowboys out here. PJ, don't do you're why, dude. This guy PJ is like learning on the go. I've watched PJ's fight knowledge go from nothing to a year in. PJ, people will at PJ in our Discord for his picks. I love it. Yeah, but the UFC, bro, man, you didn't come here you came here for boxing. The UFC is as volatile and as risky as what? A condomless whorehouse. We don't take those risks. DJ Hellrell. Johnny, what's up? Out of all the fights, uncertainty with Nikita, Jan, Umar. Is Peter Jan fighting this weekend? You don't think Chanel beat Mayer? I know Chanel's in her hometown. I don't know, man. I think Michaela's traveling for a reason. I like Michaela in this spot. I like the odds too. Ben Mahoney will smoke Nikita. Ben Mahoney will smoke Nikita. Okay. I'm gonna screenshot this, John. Because I'm gonna give you flowers after when Ben beats Nikita and I lose my quarterly mortgage. I'm gonna give you flowers. But also, when Nikita wins, I'm bringing this up on our live. Just for me and you. It'll just be us. Me and John Bosco. Shout out. Still have one more ticket alive at plus 559 waiting on Nikita win his last night. Let's go, Terry. Terry, I remember I remember you posted a ticket. Well, you talked about it in our live stream. The very first Zuffa card, you hit like a crazy one. It was either Zuffa 1 or Zuffa 2. That's my memory of you commenting on in our chat. Other than obviously, being a former pro and fighting, with Bud, sparring partner, and then that sort of stuff. Was that ticket you hit Zuffa 1 or Zuffa 2? Because that weekend I got freaking cooked. I think that was the you picked like mine. It was when you guys got Michelle Rodriguez at plus, or you'll know the answer. It was your winning ticket. My memory is crazy. Wasn't impressed. What's up, Boogie? Neither was I, man. And I think it's healthy for us to at least say that, because in a lot of boxing forums, if the star guy has a bad performance and you say you weren't impressed, you're a hater. No, bro. We're not cheering for fighters. We're cheering for fades. We're looking for guys who in the future will go in as a favorite and potentially lose. And then we're looking for dogs. We're looking for when the odds got it wrong. And guys, man, that like this weekend, you guys were so close from a generational read. Plus 800 was insane. That should have been a 50-50 fight, Mercado. Early ammo, Vito. I like ammo. Playos plus money versus Dalton. Is that a sharp steal? Paulie said the distance yo-yo plus 165, and I went against it for the knockout. Yeah. Go with your gut, though, Mayo. Go with your gut. Always trust your gut, boys. Do your work. My guy, haven't seen you in a while. This dude slept with my girl. My guy right here once slept with my girl. That's why he named his screen name that. But that's when we were in college and, we used to share everything back in the day. So me and my man's right here, we go way back when I started playing ball at Pitt. And, those days were like, you kind of just everything sharing. But that's why he's named that. Yeah, Lonnie, bro, but he won that fight. He is mid. He is mid. He won 7-3. We don't need him to look great, guys. We don't need these fighters to be Hall of Famers. We don't. All we need is for them to win that night. That's it. We're not. I don't. We're not in the business of buying posters of these guys and putting them on our bedroom wall. We're not trying to get background screens and autographs and pictures of them behind our. No, bitch. We need you to win one night, bitch. That's it. Win, move on, and then we'll see the odds in your next fight. Let's go. But I thought he won that fight, bro. He was on the front foot the entire. PA was just surviving. The announcers were shocked. It was crazy. It was like a funeral in the arena. It was horrible, bro. Hopefully you have a book in which the draw doesn't ruin the parlay. Nope, ruined your parlay just like mine, bro. It's horrible. You have that decision, and then I don't know who you took. I wasn't on the wrong side of it. We were on the right side of the Utria decision. But, could you imagine if you had Mercado and Lonnie Buttigieg on the same ticket? And then the draw in which you won, and then Mercado, he clearly won. And then you don't get the nod. Yo-Yo is another. I think Subaru, look, man, where I struggle with Yo-Yo is I think Yo-Yo struggles with his own identity within a fight. At least Subaru Matias knows who he is as a fighter in a fight. He knows what he is. He doesn't try to be anything he isn't. He takes his skills that he has and he tries to put you in the cooker. And shout out to Dalton. Dalton, I did not expect Dalton to win 50-50 exchanges with him. And he wasn't winning them all the time. And afterwards, it was refreshing to hear Dalton talk about how he had never been, some of those shots Subaru hit him with, he thought he was going to go down. And he didn't. Dalton earned my respect in that fight, boy. He got a beard on him. And he got that mindset to punch with you. And if you're going to, if you're willing to go 50-50 with a guy like Subaru, who are you? This is a kid. That's all you need to know about Dalton. Will Playo sit there and punch with him? No. Playo is a totally different fighter. Playo is a nightmare to deal with. He's long, he's rangy, he has a good jab, he's good at distance, he's good at the pocket, he can use the whole ring, he's sneakily fast, he has good reflexes. I mean, he has a lot to deal with. There is a lot to deal with Puello, man. I think that's a 50-50 fight. I don't know what the odds are. I probably have Dalton on a parlay, I think. But I told you my read on that. It's going to be a fun fight. There's going to be a bit of a chess match. There's no way Puello is fighting Dalton the way Subaru fought him. And so to say Yo-Yo, if anything, I don't know who Yo-Yo is yet. I don't know if Yo-Yo knows who he is yet. If Yo-Yo is just the hammer, we've seen this story before. If Yo-Yo is just going to be just the hammer, and that's all he thinks he is, he's not going to be a world champion. Like, I mean, he's not going to be somebody who holds a belt for a long time, because in boxing, you can't just be the hammer. You have to have other things. You can't just be a bully with a high guard and take shots off of your guard and then, cross your. He does so many. Maybe it's because I'm a coach. He does so many things technically wrong with his feet that drives me absolutely insane. Awkward punches. His feet are never set when he punches. Even when his jab lands, he runs. He doesn't slide the proper way. His head stays on the midline. He keeps his chin in the air. He has that high guard, but it's like, I think he's lacking gears, man. And Julius might be right. Yo-Yo might be 40 on the down low. Yo-Yo might be 48 years old on the real. Keith Moore, my boy. We still good. Bro, that Mercado fight still hurts. All good. It was a great read on your end. if you're not following Keith, go follow him. We got a lot of fights this weekend, man. I'll send you a message on Insta. We got to do another collab. And so if you're just jumping in now, I talked about it earlier in the stream, bro. Perfect read on your end. And it's a great example from a betting perspective. Sometimes we could lose with perfect reads. It was a perfect read, man. And I talked about, I feel bad for obviously Mercado and guys like in the bettors who took him. There's no way that should have been a plus 800. Should have been. My boy Assassin sneaking in the live. My boy's been killing the Discord, dropping heat. I live bet Mercado at plus 600, but I cash out a prop. Lucky, nice. But that's why they call me Assassin, boy. Gotta be a sniper. I wish I could live bet. Manny, are you the Manny in our group that's on holiday right now? Umar Nurmagomedov goes to China this weekend to fight Yadong. What's your take? Ooh, it's a great fight. Great name, Song Yadong. You got to think that he's going to be tough to beat in China. That crowd's going to be absolutely insane. Umar Nurmagomedov, guys, don't let the last name fool you. This kid could strike. People see Nurmagomedov, you're going to think about that traditional Dagestani wrestling style because of Khabib. Umar could strike. Umar is kind of like a sort of hybrid of sort of what Khabib is good at, but more so on the feet of like what Zabit used to fight like. Zabit Magomedov. Damn, what could have been with Zabit, right? Zabit was a joy to watch. But that's a fun fight. I think Umar is the better fighter. I gotta be honest with you. I don't know what the odds are. I'll check them out soon. I would probably take Umar. Let's check. I'm acting like I don't got the odds right here. Are we getting Umar at plus money? Oh, fuck no. Hell to the no. That ain't plus money. So it's pretty much, yeah, I think Umar's going to win. The books think he's going to win. Umar's a lot to deal with. Song could wrestle. Song wants to punch, though. Song's well-rounded. We know about how he's been sort of molded into like that Uriah Faber 2.0 style. But Song's, Uriah was a guy nobody really talks about a lot. People know him as the guy behind Team Alpha Male. But if it wasn't for Uriah Faber bringing the lightweight classes over from the WEC, before Uriah came over, the UFC didn't have any divisions under 155. And, this guy, without Uriah Faber, there's no 45, 35, or 25. And the California kid coming out to California Love with the cornrows and the surfer style, one of my favorite fighters. Stylistically wasn't one of my favorite fighters because he was a grappling heavy wrestler. Had some great fights with Mike Brown. Had some great fights in the WEC. Obviously, the Josie Aldo fights. Dude, when Uriah would be cooking, dude, always in shape, bodied up, dude. One of my favorite videos of all time is Uriah Faber. It's an old grainy video of him getting interviewed on like a home camera after he got back from Bali, Indonesia, and he's telling this story of how he got jumped by a Balinesian biker gang, and he's talking about how this dude with the ice pick hits me here, and then I get hit with a bottle, and I'm like, hell no, today's not. And he starts telling the story about he's fending off and beating up like a Balinese street gang, and he's doing it the whole time smiling. And shout out to Faber. But Sedong, Yon Sedong, Yadong comes from that camp. So he's going to be well trained. He's going to have a good game plan. No, man, I'm not younger than you. I'll be fit. Bro, shout out. Okay. Oh, my man, stays in shape. See, canary in the coal mine. Let's go. Terry Lance. Shout out. Some of the school cards this week. Bro, crazy night of school. This is why, as a better, whether I think another lesson with the crazy scorecards, boys, is the fact that we should only be cared of. If you're doing it with the intention to kind of make money, it's important to talk about the scorecards, but all we need is a win. We win and move on. We win and move. Was there anybody who was on the right side of these decisions? Does anybody have a ticket with Mortensen, Utria, and the Lenny Buttigieg draw? Or Utria on points, Mortensen on points, and Yo-Yo on points. Does anyone have that ticket? You know what I'm saying? Like I have. It was one of those weekends because a lot of guys won. You know, we were the draw and a bad decision away of going perfect on the money line. But I'm not seeing a lot of like, you know, take home point from. We don't have to bet on every damn fight. Why would I throw freaking Lenny Buttigieg at $1.10 on a freaking ticket? That's the thing. Fucking idiot on my end. That's my fault. Stupid. Dumb. I feel Yo-Yo fights like boots. I think sometimes Yo-Yo looks like he's underwater though. Mortensen, constant clinching, not even picked up once by the ref. It was horrible to watch, especially Big Boy after we saw Carolyn Valle the week before get DQ'd in the 8th round of her world title fight in which she was the champion. And on the live odds, she was a minus 800 favorite. And that was our only loss that weekend. And I'm freaking pissed about that still, man. Fucking pissed. Hey, John, I think Terry Harper's in a tough fight. We know with Terry, you know, seasoned. She's been in there with high level competition. We've seen her stopped before, but we've seen her go the distance before. She's a multiple division world champion. She's going to be fit. We know that. You guys have seen her training videos. It ain't just me. If you're a booty guy, Terry Harper is your girl, right? Some guys are booty guys. Some guys are boob guys. I'm a booty guy. I need like, as long as the shoulder to hip ratio is right, and you know, flat little stomach. I don't like body fat, but a booty isn't a requirement. You know, we all like what we like. You know, some of my boys like big girls, some of my boys like real tiny, whatever it may be. Terry Harper's in a tough fight. I think she's in a tough fight. I don't know what the odds are. I got Chantel Grandmaster. Okay, Chantel. She is the home side. She is the A side. I think just, man, Michaela. I think Michaela's in a good spot with this fight. McKenna, Tam, Cam. I've seen more enough of both of them. Let's go. How come Valle got to, bro? Different reps, man. Different reps, different commissions, different states. The Valle fight was in Georgia. The Mortensen fight, it wasn't that in LA, California. It's tough to talk about. It's tough to talk about because we're so used to those sort of breaks going our way. We've gotten 3 really tough breaks in the last 10 days of betting, but it turns. You know, it turns. We just got to stick through it. It'll turn. It'll always turn. Isn't there a metaphor here? There's a lesson here, a life lesson. No matter how shitty it is, it'll turn. Just stick through it. We got this shit. Blind Mug. I had Taco round 3 sub. Beautiful. Wow. What'd that pay? Taco Padilla, man. He's so fun to cheer for, isn't he? Taco made me over 20 alone. Dude, so and he's already easy to cheer for with his story, and if you know about what he fights for and his family, where he comes from, has a fan-friendly style, marketable. Give that guy a big fight, man. You know, give that kid a big fight. Shout out to Drill. I told you guys about the Drill. Did you listen? Duvenel, Stanley, in a good spot at plus money, baby. The Drill on short notice looking good. The Drill looked like a mix of John Jones and Derek Brunson. Stylistically, his length, his range for the division, how he kind of has this awkward striking style, but then he's kind of like does things unorthodox. He'll go to the ground, he'll hip toss. He reminds me of that sort of unorthodox, wild at times Derek Brunson style with John Jones's sort of like long striking in the pocket at range. I want to see more of him in the UFC. I don't know if he got a post-fight bonus. Hopefully he did. Hopefully Dana takes care of these guys who come in on short notice as dogs and wins. You know, so that was a fun fight on both sides. His opponent Gage, I think just Gage, you know, fighting a guy like Stanley on short notice is crazy. And you know, you got a game plan for a guy like that who's tall, long, who's comfortable on the feet and on the ground, who could scramble, who's awkward with his angles, and not a lot of tape. That was only a 7th pro fight. We know Gage Young is all, you know, blood and guts, but Gage was landing clean early, and you know he just wasn't getting him out of there. That was a fun fight. When is Emmanuel versus Foster? October, brother. October. What are your thoughts on Ituama new profile pick on Box? Are you? Let's see, guys. I'm gonna lock this up in about a couple minutes. I'm gonna upload the Nikita Tszyu Ben Mahoney breakdown after this, so stay tuned. If you guys haven't, just hit notifications on the channel. So because I found out YouTube will notify you boys when I do my live streams, but it's a different notification process from a playlist. So this is my live stream. We have the Stats Don't Lie playlist when you get the edited breakdown analysis and prediction videos. 2 different notifications. I didn't know that. What do you mean? What's your thoughts on his new profile pic? I don't know what you want from me. We're both Slovaks. I didn't know he was born in Slovakia. Druzka. My father was born there. I didn't know he was born in Czech. Crazy. You learn something new every day. All right, I'm going to catch up to the chat, then I'm going to get you boys out of here. Shout out to all the support. We're a growing community. Everybody who takes part in these live streams. Anybody who wants to come on. Terry, we got to get you on at the end of the week. More boxing. Keith, either I come on yours or you come on mine in terms of breaking. There's a lot of different cards as well. The interaction is why I love to do what I do. Johnny, my UFC parlay, Umar Silva, Jan, let's go. Bepro, connect this week. All right, brother, let's do it. Keith Moore, go follow him if you haven't. Oh, you're MMA better in the Discord. Savage. You got to give us your reads. I need one of you MMA guys to come on. You guys know I love MMA, but I want the chat to get a different perspective. I got like an old head unk perspective of my UFC takes. You know, I've seen, it's like I've seen too much. I've been watching since Jump, and sometimes, you know, in this case, the unk's paid. I'll always fit. If I watch a guy who's in his mid-30s and I've watched him since he was 20, I kind of have a good read on that guy in MMA. And the volatility, you know, if you're a 36-year-old striker and you got some snap in your punches, Emmers is always a guy, and I said this last week, when you watch Emmers' highlight tape, he's that guy that you see his highlight footage and you're like, how this guy's a potential champion. You know what I'm saying? When things are going his way and the fight looks the way he wants it to look, he looks unstoppable. Did you see UFC yesterday? Yeah, that second fight in 6 days. We watched Wint on the Contender last week, and then he was in a precarious position, right? Didn't he? He almost got armbarred. He kind of looked out of his depth on the ground in one of those grappling exchanges in the first round. Is that what you're referring to, or are you referring to the outcome? Plus 4,000, plus 6,000. Let's go, blind. Stanley not going to quit his job at Home Depot either. Coiner, nice. Guys, I'm going to roll out. I'll see you guys soon. We're doing lives, 2 of them every day this week. Check the uploads. Best community in the world. Best sport in the world. I'll see you guys soon. We up.